So it's a lot easier to just fall in line and be comfortable, work the jobs you need to work, and then on the weekends go party and celebrate and just to forget about it for a little bit before you have to go and start it all over again. That's not living. Welcome back to Blue Soul Community. If you're new to my channel, I'm Abby, but you can call me Blue. We're here to talk all things metaphysics with the aim to raise the vibrations of the collective consciousness. Today, I'm really excited to announce that it is my 3 months of going completely sober of alcohol with no plans of going back. Well, by the time you're watching this, it's probably going to be more like 3.5 months since I do record 2 videos behind. Alcohol is such a major roadblock in our personal and spiritual development, which is why I thought it was necessary to make another video regarding alcohol. So I wanted to talk a little bit about my experience with giving it up, why I gave it up in the first place, and different ways that it actually interferes with our mind, body, and soul. I've included a bunch of tips at the end of this video that you can use to start your journey on a clear-minded, sober lifestyle. When I was using alcohol, most of the time it was used for alleviating anxiety symptoms in social situations. Over the course of several years, I knew there was a reason that I was using it in social situations, and I really wanted to work on that because that means there's something internally that I need to focus on and give my attention to if I'm covering it up with alcohol. It took a lot of time, actually, more time than I cared to admit. It took years for me to finally decide I'm done. Because, you know, it comes with giving up a lot of events and maybe friends, because you would attend these events with certain people, or when you saw these people, you attended certain events. And at these events and with these people, drinking alcohol is normal. So you don't have to give up these events or these friends, but a lot of times you tend to separate yourself from these environments. So the time finally came where I was like, man, I have so many goals, and if I want to accomplish this, I can't be wasting my time hungover, wasting my money on alcohol, wasting my time drinking and poisoning my body. And the number one thing was the cloudiness. You know, I couldn't afford to have a cloudy mind. So I finally came to the day where I was like, we're done, we're not doing this anymore. And you know, the longer you do it, the harder it is to want to drink, because you have this momentum going, and if you take one drink, is that one night worth it to start all over again? I wouldn't say it is. Alcohol was such a distraction for me, and looking back, I can pin alcohol as one of the main roots of getting in the way of accomplishing my goals and living the life that I wanted to live. I also really wanted to find and surround myself with people who shared more of the same values I did, and they're actively choosing to eliminate certain lifestyles so they can make that happen. And regarding health, I really wanted to increase my brain, heart, and sleep health. You know, it got in the way of my proper sleeping schedule, and my heart rate would increase. You know, sometimes I would be hitting over 100 beats per minute while I'm sleeping. That's not cool, and it really messes with your brain, it messes with your vibrations, and it messes with your overall health. Now I'm feeling far more energized, way more clear-minded. After 90 days, over 90 days at this point has passed, I can really feel the effects. It has completely detoxed out of my system, and I have absolutely no urge, no temptation, no like longing or anything for alcohol. Like, it's just out, it's gone. It has no more control over my life. And I'll tell you, when I first stopped drinking, the first couple weeks was kind of hard. There were a lot of activities and moments where I was thinking, this would be really great with a cold beer. And me, I love beer, and it was difficult. But after the 3rd week, that craving went, that urge went, I was no longer thinking about it, and anytime I did think about alcohol, all I could think about was the negative side effects. So I no longer had this association in my mind of the reward system that so many of us have with alcohol. Feeling great, having the dopamine rush, you know, getting rid of anxiety, able to communicate with people easier, get out of your comfort zone. We need to learn how to do that without alcohol. I'm also able to critically think way easier, and I think that is so underestimated. You're able to problem solve and think of solutions like that quicker, easier. It comes so fluently. There's such a flow to it, and you can think about these far more complex solutions than you would with this foggy, cloudy brain. Giving up alcohol really opens up a lot of doors, a lot more opportunities that when you're filling this time partying and doing these certain activities, whatever you do when you're drinking alcohol, now you have all this time, all these weekends that's free for filling with your hobbies and doing these activities that really sparks a passion inside of you, lights that fire, and gets you moving. But most of all, I just feel so good and so proud of myself for making this step that can be really, really hard. And it was hard for me. It took many short detoxes for me to finally get to a point where I cut it out and I regained my full control over alcohol. And a lot of people don't quite realize the control that alcohol has over them until they intentionally try to cut it out. And you might realize it can be a lot more difficult than you think it is. A lot of people will say, no, I have control, I can stop whenever. It's not that easy. It's really not, because you have all these people, these events, these holidays, these concerts that are surrounded with alcohol. And when you're in that situation, you have this association that that's what you should be doing when you're at these events or with these people. It's not as easy as it looks, but that's why I provided a bunch of tips at the end of this video to help you take that step and start your journey with a sober lifestyle. A quick note before we jump more into the ways that alcohol can affect your spiritual and personal development. This video is not meant to be based in fear, but I do think it's important that we talk about the truth and be clear about the ways that alcohol actually affect us, because it is so accepted on such a mass level of drinking. It's just so normal. You know, no matter what you do, you feel sad, you feel happy, you're celebrating, you're seeing friends, like, you drink. And that should not be such an acceptable substance that people consume, because it is so incredibly damaging to the self and to community. If you haven't noticed yet, alcohol is generally used to control the masses. It keeps us numb. It keeps us not able to critically think and to process our emotions and our feelings properly. It keeps a lot of hatred and a lot of division. You think about how many accidents and how many I'm sure you possibly have seen for yourself or have been involved in yourself, these different situations that come up when people are drunk and they're under the influence. They don't have the best judgment. You might have said something or did something to someone while you were drunk, and then you come back the next day and you're like, I'm so sorry, I never would have done that if I was sober. Alcohol is advertised everywhere. Everything is surrounded around alcohol. It is pushed so heavily and offered at just about any restaurant, any cafe, any event, in pretty much every corner. When people are unable to critically think and process their thoughts and emotions properly, it's a lot easier to keep people in line and working the jobs that they want you to work to make them more money. There's also increasingly less energy and mental stamina to create your own businesses and go after your own passions. So it's a lot easier to just fall in line and be comfortable, work the jobs you need to work, and then on the weekends go party and celebrate, and just to forget about it for a little bit before you have to go and start it all over again. That's not living. You know, alcohol keeps people from questioning the way that systems are run. It keeps them just following the standards. And we're so addicted to that immediate dopamine rush. You know, we're in a society where we need that quick dopamine fix, no matter where we're looking, whether it's digital content or in person. Like, we need everything right away, and it has to make us feel good. With alcohol, it keeps us from doing the inner work and finding peace and happiness within. It keeps us running away from our problems. You know, alcohol really stems at the baseline for a lot of our problems, whether we want to admit it or not. Drinking alcohol is dressed up as this glamorous thing. You know, you have pretty cocktails or bubbly champagne served at this fancy event, and it keeps you thinking that it's okay because it's served with a little umbrella. But what it's really doing to us is far, far deeper than that. It's digging down into our psyche, into our soul, and keeping us unable to connect with our own subconscious on a conscious level. When you consume alcohol, you're operating from a lower vibrational state. And that's not only when you're drinking it, but it is after you're drinking it as well. You have lowered your vibration to this lower state. Now, what does that mean? When you are meditating or you are trying to get in touch with your intuition or a spirit guide or whatever your goal is, when you're trying to reach these higher vibrational entities, energies, frequencies, you're unable to connect and make that connection because you're operating from a lower vibration. Your vibrations have to be operating at a higher level to also reach those other higher vibrational frequencies. So you'll find that it's going to be really difficult to connect and make this spiritual progress because you're operating at such low frequencies. And the number one step to going about your spiritual development journey is to raise your vibrations and to open your chakras. But when your vibrations are low, you're operating at these lower chakras. Your spiritual chakras are your third eye and your crown. If you're operating at your lower levels, you can't really reach that. You can't access your higher chakras and reach these higher vibrational entities. Alcohol numbs the mind and makes it really difficult to process our emotions and our feelings and these sensations. And when you think about intuition, that's how intuition communicates with us, is through emotion, is through thoughts and symbols and connecting with your subconscious, is through these sensations that we feel across our body and in our minds. And when you're drinking alcohol, your mind is numb to that. You're unable to communicate with your intuition. That leaves us looking up to authoritative figures to make our decisions for us because we no longer can rely on our inner voice to guide us because we are unable to connect with it. Consumption also makes it difficult to process our traumas, whether we are actively running away from it and filling our time with drinking alcohol so we don't have to process the emotions, or if we want to, it can be really difficult to access those deep recesses of our subconscious where we can pull out that trauma and actually process it in a healthy way. So there's the inability to actually do so, but also it's used as a scapegoat. So we don't have to process the emotions. We fill our time with partying, we fill our weekends with, we aren't allowed to let ourselves be bored. We can't process the information. We can't listen to our inner selves. We have to fill our time and go see friends and have fun and party. And it makes it really difficult to actually process these traumas and heal. Spiritual development isn't just awareness of your consciousness and the way that we're all connected, but it's healing from your traumas and letting it go. With alcohol, that makes it really difficult to do. Some of you may be thinking, well, maybe I get emotional when I drink, so isn't that processing traumas? Some things may come out, but you're not processing traumas in a healthy way, and you're not able to really analyze and understand the feelings and emotions, the sensations, the images that come up. When you're in this altered state, it's really just a release. It's your inner self crying for help and releasing it because you're not processing it in a healthy way. Now think about this. Think about how much of a distraction alcohol is. When you're sad, drink. When you're happy, drink. When you're celebrating, drink. When you're confused, drink. You're on vacation, drink. It's the weekend, drink. So many people have to supplement what we're going through with alcohol. And we put this pretty label on it like, oh, it's just like, it helps me get out of my comfort zone, helps me connect with people. But really, we're not able to process our feelings, what we're going through in that moment. We're numbing it out, whether you want to and you're intentionally doing it or not. Alcohol numbs parts of our brain, so we're unable to process certain emotions and feelings. That momentary distraction is only going to build up. In the long run, there's no healing that comes from drinking alcohol. Everything that you're running from is still in existence and nothing is changing. It takes facing the problem and processing it in a healthy way to really let go and move on and create the changes in your life that you want to see. I promised you that I would not leave you hanging and give you some tips that you can use today to start your journey toward giving up alcohol. So one of the first things I would recommend is to write down your reasons for wanting to give up alcohol in the first place. Once you've done that, write down if you were to drink, how would you feel? What are the positives and the benefits that would come from it? You should also write down how alcohol in general has affected you positively and negatively. You could look at this as a pros and cons list. How has it affected your life and relationships, with your career, with your own goals, with your own healing and the processing of your traumas, of your emotions? Why do you use alcohol in the first place? Do you use it to escape? Do you use it to celebrate? Do you use it to cover up any symptoms or to make something easier, like seeing friends or going to a social event. Maybe there's a traumatic event that you're really trying to numb out and not face. So what are the reasons that you use alcohol in the first place? And once you write that down, think about what can you use to replace that. For an example, let's say that you love alcohol when it's a sunny day and you like the bubbliness, you like the vibe that it gives you on a warm summer day. You could think about these different alternatives that you could replace it with. So maybe a tonic water or a fresh juice would be a really good replacement for a sunny day. Now, what are the positives of doing that? Well, it hydrates you, for one. You still have something to sip on, tastes great, and it's actually healthy and beneficial. If you're sitting and looking at a menu and you're really itching to have a beer, but you know that you should go for maybe a fresh juice, think about the benefits of both and how you would feel afterward. Don't think about the immediate gratification. Think about that evening or the following day. How would you feel? Well, with a juice, you're gonna feel great about yourself that you kept with your goal and you chose a positive, healthy alternative. But if you had a beer, well, that moment passed. Was it worth it? You can't carry that moment with you, and now you have these negative side effects. The guilt, the lower vibrations, possibly a hangover. I mentioned that I had done detoxes a few different times. Well, what's the difference between this time and the last time? Or the last several times? I used a habit tracker, and that, I think, was a huge motivation to continue doing what I'm doing. So every single day you get to add a little check mark. You know, I like to use the app Dailyo. It is free, but that is what I used, and you can do a paid membership, but no, you can just set a goal of no alcohol, set it for every day, and every day you go in and hit that check mark. And after a certain amount of time, and you see your streak, you're like, if I have a drink today, I have to start this all over. You look at how much time and how long it took you to get to this moment. You have such momentum that it's just not worth having a drink for one night, one evening. When you're feeling tempted, take out a journal and write about why you don't want to drink. Write about what would happen if you did and how you would feel immediately after, 3 hours after, and the next morning. You can also use your journal to track your patterns and your triggers. So whenever something comes up, write down what triggered you wanting to drink. So then you can analyze whether you want to cut it out, or you can just go into it the next time being more prepared, having an alternative, letting people know, don't offer me alcohol. Whatever the situation is, you can have a plan going into it so you are prepared for your triggers. Eventually, these triggers won't be triggers anymore. It just takes getting over the initial hump of it, and everything goes up from there. Everything else after that becomes so much easier. I can speak from experience. It was difficult at the beginning, but I got over it, I got through it, and I don't even think about it at all anymore. And this has been a journey of years to stop. Adjusting your lifestyle, like the activities that you attend or maybe the people that you surround yourself with, is going to really be a major deciding factor on if you are successful in your journey of giving up alcohol or not, especially depending whether you are quite influenceable. I don't know if I said that word right, but if people are influencing you to drink or everyone else is around you doing it, do you feel like you have to be drinking too? Or are you okay being different than everyone else and saying, no, I'm staying true to my goals? If you go to an event that's really pushing the alcohol, do you feel like you won't be able to say no? Or do you see yourself able to, choose an alternative or just have water? Going hiking and getting sun, fresh air, and meditating are amazing natural ways to stop drinking alcohol. When you're in that state of getting your natural replenishments and you're feeling healthy, you're feeling good, a lot of times the last thing you want to do is drink a poison, So like if you can consistently get yourself outside, going for walks, getting sunlight, getting into nature, if you can even meditate for 5 minutes a day, that can make a difference. Now, don't forget to celebrate your milestones, because this is an amazing accomplishment. Every week, every month that you stay sober, you should be proud of yourself, and you need to let yourself know just how proud of yourself you are. I hope I didn't make anyone feel a little bit down about themselves. If you did feel a little bit down about your habits, then perhaps that's your first sign that maybe it's time to make a positive change. There's really nothing good that comes from alcohol, and if we feel like we have to use it to cover something up, then perhaps there's something internally that we need to put more attention into and heal from. If the challenges that you're facing feel too big for you to handle, then it's best to speak with a professional for help. I love you all so much. If you could please give this video a like, subscribe, and comment so we can try to reach some people who might benefit from hearing this message today. Then head on over here to check out one of these other videos. Stay blue, and I will see you over there.